If you're an author or plan to be one, get excited because this podcast is for you. Book Marketing Mentors is the only podcast dedicated to helping you successfully market and sell your book. If you're ready for empowering conversations with successful marketing mavens, then grab a coffee or tea and listen in to your host, international best-selling author Susan Friedman.
Welcome to Book Marketing Mentors, the weekly podcast where you learn proven strategies, tools, ideas, and tips from the masters. Every week, I introduce you to a marketing master who will share their expertise to help you market and sell more books. Today, my special guest is Ari Galper. He's the founder and CEO of Unlock the Game and is the world's #1 authority on trust-based selling. He's been featured in CEO Magazine, Forbes, Inc. Magazine, Sky News, and the Australian Financial Review. In his best-selling book, Unlock the Sales Game, Ari describes his revolutionary sales approach based on getting to the truth and why having a mindset of focusing on deep trust instead of the sale is ironically 10 times more profitable. Ari, what an absolute pleasure it is to welcome you to the show. And thank you for being this week's guest expert and mentor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me and looking forward to our conversation.
Ari, as the world's #1 authority on trust-based selling, let's talk about that sales mindset, especially as so many of our listeners are first-time authors and consider sales a 4-letter word. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think we've been conditioned over the years by the old gurus and all the old training we used to have that makes selling a very dehumanizing experience for everyone involved, where we have to chase people and chase ghosts and really kind of sacrifice our soul in that process. And I think that's wrong. And my mission is to help people sew that up so they feel comfortable and authentic offering their services without having to sacrifice their soul. And there's a story behind that, but that's really what this is about. It's about how to, with integrity and authenticity, how to offer your services without compromising your integrity in the process.
In your book, Unlock the Sales Game, you talk about the old mindset and the new mindset. Is that what you were referring to here?
Yeah, so we teach a way of thinking, a different mindset where the goal of the process is not to focus on the sale, but to focus only on deep trust with people, where they feel vulnerable enough to open up to you and describe to you what their problems are, because it's almost like a doctor-patient relationship. That's what we teach. How do you diagnose someone's problem and have them trust you at a very deep level so you're not perceived in any way as selling in a negative respect? So the old mindset is your goal is to persuade, convince, and move them towards a sale. Our goal is to build enough trust with someone in the beginning of the process so the truth comes out to determine whether we're a fit or not.
So, of course, the next question is, how do you do that? Which it begs that question. You know that, don't you?
Sure. Well, there's a story behind this concept that I think I'm going to share right now about how this got invented. And it happened to me personally. So I was the brunt of this. About 20 years ago, I was a sales manager in a software company. And we launched the first online website tracking tools to track website behavior. Now it's called Google Analytics. But back then, we had the first product that we were selling around that offering. And I was managing 18 people underneath me, salespeople. And the big opportunities came across my desk. The leads that were big, I got first. And this one call came through. I picked the phone, picked the call up, and really nice guys with a big, huge company. And they have lots of websites. And if I closed this one sale, it would double the revenue in one transaction. So it was a big opportunity. And so he agreed to a conference call and a demo to see our products. So they finally came Friday, 4:00 in the afternoon. I was in the conference room with my CEO. I closed the door behind me, big, long conference table in front of us, and the old school speakerphones on the table. And I hit the dial tone, dialed the number, and my contact picks the phone up. And he says, "Hey, Ari, how's it going?" I said, "Good." And he says to me, "Ari, let us tell you who's with us here in the room." And I was like, "Oh, didn't realize there'd be someone else there." Next thing I hear is, "My name is Jack. I'm CEO." I was like, "Oh, this is good." "My name's Chris. I'm head of global IT." This is even better. "My name is Julie. I'm head of marketing." This is amazing. I mean, everybody on this call, Susan, was a decision maker, right? So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Say they're all there at one time. So I begin to describe myself, what we do. Then I gave them a live demo over the web of our tool on their websites and collecting all the data ahead of time to show them what it looks like in real time. And I'm showing this, and I'm clicking around, describing it to them. And I started hearing this noise on the phone call, like, wow, this is great. This is amazing. I can't believe it. And they start asking me all kinds of questions. How does it work? How do we install it? How do we use it? They had all the right kinds of questions. And I had all the right kind of answers. Like, it was a good fit. There was so much chemistry on this phone call. It was like a love fest on the phone. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. That's ideal. Wouldn't you love every sales interaction to be like that?
Exactly. There was no resistance. It was so fluid. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And the call comes to a close. And my contact says to me, Ari, this is great. We love it. Give us a call in a couple of weeks, follow up with us, and we'll move this thing forward. And I was like, oh, thank you, God. You know, I said my goodbyes, and I took my hand to reach for the speakerphone on the phone to hit the off button. As I'm reaching for the off button, by complete accident, rather than the off button, I hit the mute button instead. They were right next to each other, and a small click happened, and they thought I hung up the phone. And that split second, a voice inside of me said, Ari, go to the dark side. Be a fly in the wall. Go where no one's ever gone before in the world of sales. And I pulled my thumb back for a couple of seconds. They started talking amongst themselves, thinking I had left the call.
And?
What would you expect them to say after a call like that? What would you imagine they would have said?
Well, if they were authentic, then they would be talking about how great it is, but maybe not. So it depends.
Well, let me tell you what they said verbatim, word for word, and I'll never forget it. It's why we're all here today. What they said was this. They said, we're not going to go with him. Keep using him for more information, and make sure we shop someplace else cheaper. Knife in heart twist. Susan, I was in a state of shock. I could not believe it. And I snapped out of it. I hit the off button. Little wall, I said to myself, what did I do wrong? I was heart-centered. I was competent. I was professional. I wasn't pushy. I did everything I was taught to do by the sales gurus, the books at home, the seminars. I thought I did what I was supposed to do. And the first big epiphany hit me, and that was this. Somewhere along the way, it has become socially acceptable not to tell the truth to people who sell, right?
That's the most disturbing part of that whole, little vignette that you shared, because it's soul destroying when you really feel as if you've gotten that sale. And then, like you said, they're just using you, and they're going to get all the information they can and then go with somebody cheaper.
It's just, look, they say things you like, sounds good. Send me information. I'm definitely interested. Send me a proposal without any intention of what?
No intention of buying whatsoever.
Exactly. And I'm saying to myself, what is going on here? This is so not right. To lie, to seduce, to disappoint, to force us to chase people into a dehumanizing state, to make us hate ourselves and hate the process. And that's when I decided to realize how to solve this problem. And I realized that there is an invisible river of pressure that flows underneath every conversation you have with someone in your sales process. Now, you can't see it and they can't see it. Both of you can feel it. And if you aren't aware consciously of how to remove the pressure from the sales process to build deep trust with people enough that they feel vulnerable to open up to you, then you'll always be playing a game with them, chasing what I call ghosts, and never really landing your success and playing that game. And that's why we call it unlock the sales game, to unlock that crazy game we're all living in and to really shift your thinking away from the sale and to build trust instead. That's our whole premise of our foundation, what we do.
So knowing what you know now, and you went back to these same people, what would you do differently?
That's a good question. People always ask me that. What would I do differently? And if I knew what I knew now back then, what would have happened was I never would have had the call. Because I would have discovered on the first call of the gentleman what their plans were, what their agenda was, and I would have decided whether I was going to have the call or not.
It's fascinating. I always love hindsight. Looking back and that you'd be able to do. I mean, that's 2020, isn't it? Hindsight, knowing all the stuff that you know now that you didn't know then.
Exactly.
Here you're talking corporations.
Yep.
Our listeners are primarily entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. It's me, myself, and I in this business. So we're doing everything. And we're looking to sell books, become an authority in our field. How can we use what you teach to our advantage?
Well, I've got to think that most of your people there who write those books, I guess, provide some kind of consulting of some sort. Someone bought their book, they'd look to hire them maybe?
They're looking to take their expertise, which is all wrapped up in this book, their message, their value. They need to take it to a target audience, a niche market, let's say, and just be able to do what you've managed to do and become an authority in their field, become the go-to person.
Well, by the mere fact they've created what I call a trust asset, which is a book, through you or someone else, that in itself makes them the authority, because the first word in authority is author. Once you have the book, that's half the battle. The other piece of the puzzle to make the whole thing work is to have a sales process that's trust-based to onboard new clients off the back of the book. Now, I assume as well that most of your people who have books have identified who their ideal client is, because otherwise you're writing a book to someone who's not the right fit. The real key with this is identifying who's your ideal client. Make sure that book matches their exact issues. And on the back of the book, you offer a complimentary consultation to discuss the issues that you discussed. And from there, you onboard them as a new client. And I'm working on a new book next year called The One Call Sale, which is how to compress your sales cycle from multiple steps into one conversation. So you can go from the book order to a phone call to a client in 3 simple steps, using trust only, no pressure at all.
Okay. Now you've intrigued me. Are we allowed to get sort of some secrets of what's to come? What that's all about?
I'm delivering this now to my private clients. We're all getting this ahead of time. They're all getting results now. So for sure, it's not like it's hidden. It's just not in book form. Won't be till next year anyways, end of next year. So you want this now, get a hold of me as soon as you can. But the concept is this, that you reframe that consultation as a real doctor-patient consultation. It's not a relationship call. Most of us think in sales, we think, okay, if we get someone to lead onto a phone call with us, our job is build up with them. A relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
How's it going? Nice to meet you. Where you're from? How's the weather? See, we think our job is for them to know us and like us. If they like us, then somehow over time we'll do business together. Well, what I discovered was that relationship building and trust building are mutually exclusive. What I tell my clients is stop building relationships in your sales conversations. Instead, build trust with them. They're separate. And the way you do that is you remove all the fake rapport stuff like, hey, how's it going? Look, they don't want to be your friend anyways. They're not looking for friends. They want to solve a problem. So you have to kind of reframe your mindset like you're the doctor, they're a patient, and your job is diagnose their problem with empathy, love, and bedside manner, where you unpack their issues. You ask the questions, not them. And you go what I call down the iceberg. The iceberg is the path you take them from the surface level conversation to a deep level where they feel understood by you and they say to themselves, she is exactly who I'm looking for.
That begs the question. It's all about the questions you ask. Do you have sort of a list of 4 or 5 questions that you always ask to get the kind of information that you're looking for?
Absolutely. Let's do an example right now. In your world, what would be one of the core problems that potential client would say to you, I've got X problem, what would they say to you?
Well, for me, they want to sell books and they don't know how necessarily to sell books more in bulk than in the onesies and twosies.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
Oh, I've got these books, and it's interesting because I had this conversation literally today with an author, and that is, I've got these books, but I don't know what to do with them.
What have you tried so far?
Putting it on Amazon, putting notices out on social media,
How long have you been doing that for?
maybe a few weeks.
Oh, okay. How are you hoping to monetize this, just through book sales by themselves, or do you have a business behind the book as well?
I'm looking to build a business around the book so that can allow me to be seen as an authority or as an expert in my field.
Tell me a little bit more about your business plans.
I'm going to say that I don't really
Okay,
have
so
them.
let's keep going here. So this keeps going. What I'm going
Yes.
to do right now, I'm going to unpack and peel back the onion here to get to the core problem you're really trying to solve, which isn't necessarily selling more books, it's getting clients to pay you fees in your business.
Correct.
And then I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to say, is this a priority for you to solve this problem once and for all? Or is it something you're happy to live with and deal with over time and not address it right now? And I'm okay either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. I mean, that's what they want. So I'm assuming that that's what they want right now. But you're right. I mean, I would need personally, I mean, I was playing two roles here. One as one of my own clients who come to me, but also thinking, well, yeah, those are the kinds of questions I need to be asking to be able to draw out. Is this something that they really, really want? And do they want it now? Because if they do, hey, then we need to be doing business together.
Yeah, look, they have to own the problem and decide it's a priority before you're willing to accept them as a client.
Mm.
You're selecting them. They are not selecting you. That's the shift in your thinking. As an authority, you're the one identifying whether you will take them on board or not. Hence the x-ray machine. I'm putting on these questions to make sure we know what the real problem is. Otherwise, what happens is they give you a few breadcrumbs. I want to sell more books. Great. I can help you with that. They just give you what you want to hear. And then you go on the next step and you've missed the whole unpacking the iceberg problem thing.
Brilliant. Now, I know in your book you talk about some 10 guiding principles to trust-based selling. Can you give us maybe 2 or 3 of these?
Yeah, let's do one right now. So one of our core principles is the idea of always be diffusing pressure. Always take pressure out of the conversation. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Let's say you're having a first call with somebody over the phone, a first conversation, and the call is going well, good chemistry, call kind of comes to an end. What do you normally say to somebody at the end of a call like that? What's the typical thing we say to people when the call is going well, the call comes to close? What do we say to someone usually? We say, how about we what? How about we
schedule another appointment?
That's right. We try and move them which direction? Forward, right?
Correct.
That's the old sales mindset. We believe our job is to move someone towards a sale. But what happens if you attempt to move them forward and they aren't ready yet? What do you break right there with them at the beginning of your process?
They're going to resist.
Trust. You break the trust you had before. So here's how we handle it. Our mindset, our languaging. We have our own body work around trust-based languaging. So here it is. Same scenario. Call is going well. Call comes to a close. Rather than saying, hey, how about we go to a next step towards a sale? We say this. We say, where do you think we should go from here?
It's funny because, funnily enough, I had that conversation with a client today because I wasn't sure where they wanted to go. And they told me exactly where they wanted to go and how they wanted to get there.
Yeah. And when you say to somebody, where do you think we should go from here? They're usually in a state of shock.
Mm-hmm.
They can't believe somebody in business would actually ask them what they want to do. Because they're so used to people taking them down a sales process, which connects you now to that stereotype. So when you say it to someone, they open up to you. And that's the real key, is shifting the power to them so they trust you enough to open up to you and tell you the truth in the beginning.
Fabulous. Whoa. Let's keep going here.
Let's try one more principle then. The other one I'll share with you is this one here. The idea of what I call getting to the truth with people. Now, what that means is having the other person feel comfortable opening up to you and telling you the truth of where they stand, everything up front. So you're not guessing and playing the chasing game anymore. Let me give you an example of this. I recently had someone call my office. They got through my team, got to me. I picked the phone up and I heard Mr. Galper. I said, yeah. And he says, my name is John Johnson. I changed the name for you here. He's with a big, huge company. And he says to me this, he says, Mr. Galper? I said, yes. We're looking to bring someone in to train our team, sales team, and our consultants. We're looking at you and two other people. We'd like to know, first of all, why should we go with you? Why are you the best? And give me your best sales pitch.
I hate that scenario. With a passion. I hate that scenario.
Right. He says this to me, of all people in the world, right? So I took a deep breath. I lowered my voice, went to my mindset, and I said this to him. I said, well, isn't that interesting? Now, there's more. It's coming right now, but that's the first thing I said. Then I said this. I said, over here at our company, we have a similar process to you where we ask some questions, gather information to see if we're a good fit. And if we're a good fit, we decide where to go from there. And I said to him, would you be open to that? That's all I said to him. Next thing on the phone, not a word. But he actually breathed across, like he let a sigh of relief out. I can feel it in his voice. He lowers his shoulders. I can feel him come down to earth again. And he says to me this, he says, okay, what kind of questions do you have for me? Next thing I know, we're having a normal dialogue. And in 5 minutes, I discover 1, he's not a decision maker. 2, he has no budget. And 3, he's just curious as to what I do.
Yeah.
And off he went for some of my stuff online. I hung up the phone. Now, what did my process, Susan, just save me months of?
Oh, the agony of keep going down that road thinking that you were going to get a sale and having to write a proposal and then him not looking at it. And then maybe he doesn't answer the phone or your emails or whatever.
That whole degrading chasing process,
Yes,
I would have been caught up into if I had not done what I do best, which is to get the truth. And it's funny. It's like this drug in our bodies. When we get called like that, you know what the drug is called? It's called hopium. You know the hopium drug? You're so excited. You get the phone call, proposal, woohoo, 25,000 books in one package. Wow. Like you're so excited. And you call them back, you get their voicemail. They're not there anymore. You're like, what the heck's going on? You go to their email, you write a note, it says, right, hi, I'm writing you to follow up, right?
yes.
And I'm going to ask all your listeners to never again use the phrase follow up ever after this recording for the rest of their career. Because what's the only industry in the world that uses the word follow up? Hi, I'm giving you a call to follow up. Sales people do that. I'm calling to move things forward, checking in, touching. These are all 1980s sales languaging that connects you to that stereotype that everyone hates.
Well,
So
that's it.
Never use that word ever again in your writing or career again. Instead, use this. I'm giving you a call to see if you have any feedback on our previous conversation, any feedback on our last meeting, any feedback on a proposal. Because feedback gets the truth. It's going away from the sale, not towards it. It's the opposite of how we've been trained over the years. That's why it's so successful.
Yeah, I can see that because especially in this day and age, is the fact that we're looking for authenticity. We're looking to build trust.
Yes.
And there's, it's scary, but it's tough to trust. Yeah, but that's what we want. But I love this hopium. I love that one. Ari, I know that our listeners must be chomping at the bit to find out more about how they can get in touch with you because this is dynamite information. And I know this is not even touching the tip of the iceberg.
Well, the best place to go is unlockthegame.com, just like it sounds. I've got a free intro course that you can take right away and reach out to us, have a chat. Or on LinkedIn, I do a show there once a month called Stump the Guru, where you can jump on, ask me a question you want live, and I'll help you with your sales scenario and connect with me there. Let me know you heard me here, and we'll have a quick chat via LinkedIn as well. I'm very accessible there.
That's fun. I love that. Stump the Guru. Have you ever been stumped?
Not yet.
Not yet. That's good because you're number one in the world. So it's hard to stop, but people,
Let's
I bet
just say
people
I've
try.
heard every single scenario that's possible over the last 20 years. So if you've got a new one, throw it at me.
I doubt it. They're all the same. It's just slightly different packaging, but it's all the same stuff. Yes. Ari, if you were to leave our listeners with a golden nugget, what would that be?
Stop selling. Build deep trust instead.
Love it. That's fabulous information. And I thank you for taking the time to share your wisdom with us because this has been outstanding. And thank you all for taking time out of your precious day to listen to this interview. And I sincerely hope that it sparked some ideas you can use to sell more books. Here's wishing you much book marketing and author marketing success.
The time is now to take action and finally build your book-selling empire. And the great news is that Susan is here to help you. Visit bookmarketingmentors.com and sign up for a free 15-minute book marketing strategy session with Susan. She'll help you discover your first steps to marketing and selling your book. Only those who take action are rewarded, so visit bookmarketingmentors.com, and we'll see you again next week.